My name is Tjeerd Hoek. I'm a vice president here at Frog. We're in Amsterdam right now, one of our 3 European studios. We have one in Milan and Munich as well, and then a number of other studios in the rest of the world. I have joined Frog in 2007, so I've been here almost 5 years now. Started in Seattle and built a studio there. Came back to Europe in 2009. Joining this new studio that we started in Amsterdam at the time. And yeah, how did I get here? It's a long story. If we go back to 1994 is when I actually moved from Holland to the States. I started working for Microsoft at the time in the Redmond area, so that's very close to Seattle. And I ended up being 13 years at Microsoft, so I worked on lots of products. Most of the people watching this probably have used at some point, so things like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and then also the Windows operating system, online services, etc. So coming out of industrial design engineering, I really went mostly in the direction of user experience design for software products. After 13 years at Microsoft, I got in contact with Frog, and I was really looking to expand my work and seek some more, in a way, diversity in the types of things that I was going to really focus on, and also maybe bring back a little bit of the physical aspect of product design, which was my background, of course, at industrial design in Delft. Well, when I picked industrial design, I think one of the reasons why I really wanted to do that was that I was kind of good in a lot of different things at school, and I really liked complicated problems. I liked math, I liked physics, but I was also really good at drawing, and you know, that the handcraft of actually making something was something I really cared about. And I was very interested in people and how they do things. So for a while I actually wanted to study psychology, and then I realized I actually literally discovered industrial design engineering. So I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. And so I always thought that I'd be designing airplane interfaces and dashboards and that kind of stuff. So high complexity tools in the world that let people do stuff is what I originally set out to go design.
And did you graduate in that direction as well?
Well, my graduation project was a collaboration between industrial design faculty and the informatics faculty, which is kind of interesting because one of the strengths that I later really could utilize was bringing technologists and developers together with designers and letting them together build stuff. So I actually kind of started doing that at school already. The project that I did was around virtual reality, so I built designed and built a 3D modeler for virtual reality machines, essentially. So these really awkward helmets that you have to wear, and stereoscopic vision. It's quite kind of clunky if you look back at it now, but at the time, and this was 1991, 1990, it was very advanced. And yeah, really cool project, and it got me really thinking about how people perceive the world and what interfaces actually are all about. And I really liked technology, I liked computers, and so that's also how I ultimately actually came to Microsoft, was just asking myself, okay, if you really like those kind of things, why don't you go to design at the companies who make these things for millions and millions of people, and actually have some real impact with it. So that's how I ultimately got to move to Redmond and work for Microsoft. Well, probably a lot of things. One of the things that really struck me when I started working is the importance of the user in the process. So really understanding what people were doing with whatever it is you're designing, and going out and seeing them in their environment and seeing how they do stuff and what their tactics are and their purpose. And then also during the design process itself, iterating based on feedback from users or formal usability testing, And this is something that Microsoft had already very much integrated into their innovation and product development processes, and also was constantly really working to improve. And so that was something that I really learned there. Then in addition, probably more business-oriented thinking, pitching, presenting, in a very clear way, verbally communicating your ideas and getting people excited about what it is you're proposing, which for designers is fairly essential. We didn't get to do that a lot actually during the education. I think the times that you had to verbally present were literally, you can probably count them on one hand. Well, first of all, having a real impact. So actually building a product and seeing it go out in the world and having it be used by lots of people is something that really makes me very excited. And especially when you then hear them talk about it. So I sometimes have it that you'll be at a party and some elderly lady who isn't necessarily the one who you designed the product for starts talking about yeah, I'm using this Appy thing on my mobile phone to do my shopping at Albert Heijn, right? And then you go, yeah, actually we designed that. Oh, I love it, and like that's really cool, right? Like when people, without you asking about it, start talking about something that you worked on. But for me personally, another element of real joy in the work is building teams and creating an organization of lots of different people who come from all kinds of different design backgrounds or more business strategy backgrounds or technology backgrounds, and bringing those together and having them work on projects and do amazing things, right? Things that you didn't have in your head yourself at all. You just put some structure in place and help them do their best work, and that's real fun. Yeah, it's, a good example of the work Frog does is always really hard to give because we do so many different things, and we work with companies in so many different domains. All of them are really cool, right? Like whether it's in healthcare or in automotive or in more digital tools. We make stuff for consumers. We also make really almost geeky tools that are really very what we say vertical for one specific purpose, right? I'll give you an example. We worked on software for configuring hearing aids here in the studio, and the team working on that actually had to really become total experts in the configuration of these hearing aids, and it's real, highly expert work, very sophisticated kind of devices, and it's essential that they are correctly configured, right? That's the only way that they really can do great things for people and make their lives better. And so having that software work really well ultimately leads to these people having better lives, and that's when you see that happening. Something that initially looks like it's just a boring software tool, but if you do it right, there's this real good positive impact on the world. That's the kind of stuff that we love doing. One thing I definitely always tell them is be very active in developing your skill sets in making things, in creating sketches, in visual thinking, and trying things out. The more we see these product experiences that we're building have high complexity. Like they're often, everything's kind of connected, everything's converging. So it's never almost the case that you just have this very isolated product. It's always part of an ecosystem. It can be seen and used from all kinds of sides. This means that you basically have to prototype things and try them out and understand how they're built and can best be designed by creating them. So the design process, although on the one hand it can be very cerebral and logical, you do your research, come up with your requirements and your constraints, and then you go come up with your ideas and do your design work, and then you go make it real, build it. Very often, though, there's another element there that's more exploratory, that's more sort of trying to discover cool things just by making something, right? sort of going through the artifact itself, and in that process, coming up with ideas that maybe you hadn't even conceived of up front, or didn't know there was a problem there to solve. And so I always encourage them to learn the tools to really bring that to the process, because there's going to be a lot of other smart people in the room, in terms of who are all involved in the process of product development and innovation, and you're going to have a reason to be there as well. And what's your unique strength? They're all smart. They can all write documents and make bulleted lists in PowerPoint of what the product needs to do, but ultimately you can bring this ability to show what something can become, right? And that doesn't necessarily always have to be a thing, by the way. We can also be talking about a process, or about a strategy, right? Or about visualizing information in such a way that it leads to new ideas. I'm definitely a proponent in that sense also, and convinced of the fact that design belongs in the boardroom, and not just needs to be called in once the plan is ready and now we just need to make a little thingy. But that ability to make things and to visualize ideas, I think is very essential. For me, actually, they should just get rid of the whole industrial design engineering title and come up with another way of talking about what the faculty is, which is difficult because it's so broad, right? I think the reality is that it touches on all these different areas, right? Whether it's the business and strategy side, or the engineering side, and that can be either hardware engineering as well as software engineering, which really need to be kind of clustered together in a way. And then the pure, you could call it the creative side, although that's always weird as well, because all these other people are creative also. But the design side of things, interaction design, design of the experience, the aesthetic side of things, right, which that's probably another element that in Delft maybe is a little bit less emphasized compared to the more sort of formal problem-solving side of design. So I think they need to think more about the discipline as being about all those things together, rather than about industrial design